This is Julia Sotas, and you're listening to A Different Reality. What else is possible beyond this reality that you haven't yet chosen? Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to Beyond This Reality podcast. It's Friday, May 22nd here, and we are pre-recording this podcast, and we actually have a live studio audience today, which is exciting. We don't usually have that, so welcome, guys. And today I have a very special guest. She is like one of my favorite people in the world, and really walks the tools of access consciousness and is the tools, and has created a specialty program. I'll give clues, and then you guys out there can figure out who the guest is. Oh wait, you probably saw it in the title on the podcast. Dang it. Okay, well, anyways, so she is a certified facilitator of access consciousness, and she actually is a psychologist and created a specialty class of access consciousness called Pragmatic Psychology. And Pragmatic Psychology is an amazing and really forward-thinking body of work. You know, when I think of Freud, I think he's not very smart compared to Susanna. So Pragmatic Psychology it's really an amazing body of work, and it's about how to actually truly facilitate people and facilitate anything, not backing off from facilitating bipolar, being comfortable facilitating mental illness, being comfortable, talking about any kind of issues and deep issues and all of these different things that come up in our life, and being really pragmatic. It's a pragmatic form of psychology. So, and I'm excited because we're going to talk more about exactly what that is, and I can't wait to learn even more. So welcome to Susanna Mittermaier.
Thank you, Julia, for having me here. I love the introduction.
Thank you. So, Susanna, how did you, you're a psychologist. I would actually love to hear a little bit about your background and why you became a psychologist in the first place, and then how that came into pragmatic psychology.
Well, I was one of those kids who had no idea what they wanted to do when they were, beyond kiddom. And so I asked my mom, and she's like, well, start to become a teacher. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I started to become a teacher, like not preschool, because it's a different system in Europe. It's like before high school and also high school. And then when I worked as a teacher, I was like, hey, I actually never asked myself what I want. I always, checked what's up and what does one do. And, and then so I sat down and like, what would I like my life to be like? And I realized, okay, I want to show people how awesome they are. I want to show them that they can, do whatever they would like to do. I would like to show them that there's nothing wrong with them. And so I wondered, what kind of education is that? So I went through the university book, because that was like my way of looking at what future I would like to create was through the filters of academic studies. Because, my parents and my family was like, oh my God, please save our family. So we had to have at least one person who has studied something. So I'm like, okay, no pressure. And so I was looking at the university book, to find those, what's the name of that job or that education to get all those criteria to those things. and I couldn't find anything, and I couldn't find anything. And I'm like, okay, so what matches the most? And the education that popped up was to become a psychologist. And so that's what I did. And, I've done so many things in my life, and I started a lot of things, but I didn't finish many of them. But that gave me a lot of awareness of what I like, what I don't like. And so this was the first time that I ever finished, like totally finished an education. And I'm like, wow, surprise, surprise. And the first thing was like this, showing people what they're capable of. I must say, I was, the education and all that was not what I thought it would be. I was hoping for psychology to be something more empowering, and something more about, hey, what's right about you, and how can you use this, and even the things that are not working that well, can we turn that into a resource? That's what I thought this was. And then it wasn't actually. So I started, and then after the education I started to work at, first it was child oncology, and then later it was psychiatry, where I met many different patients with many, many different diagnoses: depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, personality disorders, like substance abuse, everything. And I did psychotherapy with them, and I did neuropsychological testings, and I took care of the staff and all that stuff. And during this whole time, I always wondered what else is possible to facilitate change. How else can this be done? And through that question, and through also demand in my world, I'm like, okay, there must be something different out there to truly empower people, and to show them what they're capable of, and to turn every disability into an ability. And so that demand and that question turned everything around. And from that moment on, I must say, actually, from that question on, Pragmatic Psychology was born. And later the book and the classes and everything. And change always starts with a question, and with some kind of question, and also a demand and a choice in your world to go, okay, whatever has been, that's okay. And what else is possible now that I have not considered? Because the cool thing is, when we truly start to change our lives, we don't know how this is going to look like. We don't have to know. We can just go for, I'd like this to change. Where can I start? And then things show up, and the next thing shows up, and the next thing shows up.
So cool. And that, that's such a similar thing for me. It's like I was looking for something, and what I was looking for didn't exist anywhere. And so I kept looking and looking and looking, and thought it has to exist somewhere. And then, found all these amazing tools and a different way of living that to being a facilitator of access and doing some access has helped so much with that. But it's like you've created this whole subtopic, this whole sub area, this whole thing that never existed before. So really cool. But that's can you talk a little bit more about searching for something that you can't find anywhere around you, but still somehow finding it and achieving it?
Yeah. And it's like, most people who are seekers, who are looking for something different, might not have even the words for what they're looking for. You might not even know, oh, I'm looking for XYZ or whatever, but you just know that there's something different available for you that nobody has ever said, but you just know it. And then from trusting that search, that thing that you're looking for, that possibility, that space, that person, that job, whatever that looks like, that, and trusting that, because you have that knowing and that, you know, eagerness to create it, just trust that this is available. Like, so many people go, oh, I must be crazy because I cannot see it, because I cannot touch it, because I haven't found it yet. No, if there's something in your world that you ask for, that you look for, that that you know somewhere must exist, but you haven't found it yet. Trust that this is real and it's true for you. And you asking for this will contribute for this to show up. And sometimes it just takes some more time than we would like it to take. Most of us are impatient creatures of magnitude, and we would like things to show up right away. But when you know something is available for you and it hasn't shown up yet, trust that you know something, keep asking, and allow it to show up when it shows up. And I must say, this continues. This is not just a one-time thing. We talked about this being the beginning of our journey with the tools, but this is actually an everyday thing. It's like, what is it now? Like, even if you've done Access for many years, or maybe you haven't, what is it today that you are searching for? What do you know is available for you and possible for you beyond everything you've ever heard about, that that is so different, that might not be words for, but you just know it? What if you trust that? And what if you right now ask for it and let it be shown to you when it does and how it does? And practice having no point of view about that and allowing it to show up. Like, one of the big parts is also not just asking, but also receiving and allowing things to show up. And oftentimes people have a lot of points of view about how things should show up, which keeps them from showing up. If you ask for money, you ask for, hey, what would it take to have more money? And you already have decided how that money will show up. Well, you don't let the universe a lot of playground of how else it could show up and what else is possible and what else is possible. So it's like no point of view takes you far.
It really does. That's a great question. Like, what are you even looking for today? Because I have, been a pretty aggressive, seeker of possibilities, I would say. But often it's like, what am I looking for, for this part of my life, or kind of this energy of this year or this time, rather than what am I looking for today? Like, what would I like to get out of life today?
Mm.
That is a really cool perspective. And one of the questions that I love, that I have been living by lately, is, what can I choose today that would make me happy right away?
Mm.
And being that. So it's like, if you have a lull in your day, or you go, oh, I'm bored, or oh, I don't know what to do, or oh, I really don't want to do this. It's like, okay, so what can I choose today that would make me happy right away? And it sort of leads you to, like, be in the, just, have the energy of you, and whatever makes you happy will create your life.
Yep.
And we're not taught that. So can you talk a little bit more, Susanna, about how what makes you happy creates your life? Because it's almost like it's the reverse in this reality. Whatever is serious and makes you miserable will create your life.
So, and it's also if you're not happy, enjoy being not happy. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
because in so many people search for happiness, and it's this carrot in front of your nose, and you think you have to run after that carrot and reach it someday, and someday you will be happy. But if you have a crappy day, enjoy it. If you're upset and cranky, oh my God, enjoy every part of that and go for Oscar nominated crankiness. I did that today. I just arrived in Vienna, and in these interesting times, people have very interesting reactions to the whole situation, and how they respond to it. And I'm like, wow, I had this whole, like, saw so many people who were not functioning from awareness, who were buying lies, who were just keeping their life small. And I'm like, okay, so this is me reacting. Okay, that's fun. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every moment of it. I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying this all. And then, I was done. I was done in a heartbeat. Because if we don't, like, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being, never reacting or never having a point of view. It's like everything is included. And And even if you have a point of view, and even if you have a crappy day, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Enjoy it. And if you don't judge yourself for not being perfect and for not being happy all the time, and you allow yourself to have that, guess what? It's going to change, and you're going to be able to change it in a heartbeat. Because the things that keep us holding on to crappiness and upset and anger and unhappiness is the points of view about it, the judgments. Oh, I should be happy now. Oh, I've done so many classes. I should not react. I shouldn't have a point of view. So, and so what? If you have a point of view, if you're upset or whatever, enjoy it. And that way you have the chance to change it so fast. Like everything is included and everything can be enjoyed utterly.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, so, so, and that's extremely pragmatic.
Yeah.
From my point of view, it's like, well, you could just be what's going on for you rather than having to fight it.
Yeah.
Um, so can you tell us a little bit more? In the introduction, I was talking about, one of the things in the description of pragmatic psychology is this, what if you could work with these different psychological things, mental illness,
Mhm.
depression, whatever it may be, anxiety. Um, can you talk a little bit about how people can facilitate those, and like, I mean, it's not just a conversation for right now, but like, I know that's part of the pragmatic psychology class, and if you could just touch on, what that is, and how people can,
Yeah.
become more comfortable.
Yeah. So and it's a huge topic, as you said. It's like it's huge, it's huge. So the things with mental illness is, people who have some sort of diagnosis, they often just like function different. They see the world different. They just are different, and difference in this world is not many times celebrated or acknowledged or used for what it can be. It's often judged and categorized, and those categorizations, they have names, and those names become very significant to people, and then they use those names to identify, oh, this is who I am. And sometimes what I've noticed is people who get a diagnosis, the first moment they become very like relaxed, because it functions like some kind of explanation of, oh, now I know why I've always functioned that way, why I've been different, why I've been weird, why I've been wrong, or whatever. Okay, now I have an explanation. Okay. And it's like in the first moment kind of like in relaxation, but then soon it doesn't change much. It's like, okay, now I know this, but that doesn't change much. It doesn't help and make things easier. And that's where people, or not most, actually many people turn to, like, what else can I do now? Like, is there anything else that I can access that's me beyond all of this? And this is where these kinds of people are the ones I meet very often, who have done many different things, many different therapies, and then they notice, like, nothing much has changed, and I know there's something different available for me. What else is there? How else can I access more of me? And with facilitating people who are different, like, one of the things you really want to do is the being the person that acknowledges their difference totally beyond judgment. If it's basically like, you want to be, when you take a walk in the woods and you have your stuff going on, you might be upset, and then maybe you walk for a while and you start to have a different headspace, because it's like the nature it's just there for you. It has your back. It nurtures you. It provides you with more space. It it doesn't ask you to change. It doesn't need you to change. It's just like, hi, what can I do for you? What contribution can I be? From total allowance, and from total gratitude for everything you be. And that's what you can be for people. So many practitioners that I work with who've, the coaches and therapists and teachers and parents, they've read many books, they have done many studies, and their heads are filled with what they should do and what's the right thing to do. And they worry so much about, oh, if this situation occurs, I have to do that. If that situation occurs, oh, I have to say that. And that way, people have a hard time being truly present with the person in front of them and with everything that they like uniquely have going on in their worlds and all the information they have verbally and beyond words. And if you if you have a different headspace for you, if you let go of everything you've learned in that moment and really be with the person and have like just have nothing going on in your head besides the question, what is truly possible with this person? What can be created here? Then you are so open to receiving information that that will surprise you on what you what that triggers in you and how you can facilitate that person uniquely, because it's such a rarity of like when people engage with each other, like truly engage with each
Totally.
other. Like
Totally.
most people, they think a lot and like, what should I do? And they have all these thoughts in their heads rather than, okay, this particular person, what's possible for this person today? What can I facilitate? And facilitate means making easier. So that's where you as a practitioner can uniquely find out, wow, how can I contribute to this person? Not how should I do it? What's the right thing? And this is where you add you with everything you be as a practitioner. And that's a totally different way of functioning, facilitating change.
Totally. Can you actually, you touched on it there, like facilitating means to make something easier.
Mhm.
And when I first realized that, like the when in French class, I learned that like the French word for easy is facile.
Mhm.
And that's actually the root. And gosh, it just when we're present with each other, it just like, and with no judgment, it just takes the pressure off of something, out of the need to be right, the need to
Yep.
be perfect, the need to get it right. And being there with somebody, that is a facilitation. And
Yep.
um
Totally. It's
amazing.
amazing. It's like this is something that this world so underestimates.
Yes.
Connection, the engagement, the true engagement. And this is something that's so rare, especially nowadays. And it's like there's a sanity being created when people connect, like truly, like engage with each other. That's off the
Yeah.
chart. That's
Yes.
something that melts insanity. Like it's incredible.
Yes. That is so true. Engagement melts insanity. Wow. Yeah, and like, it's there's such a difference because I'm so grateful for the tools of access, and really the education of it, because it's like it's given me the indication when somebody is actually engaging with me, and then when it's like the sort of like the facade of engagement, like when somebody just talks at you,
Mm.
and they're talking and talking and talking, but they're not actually being with you or engaging with you. They're just sort of trying to gosh, sometimes it feels like being beaten over the head with a baseball bat when people are talking to you, because it has nothing to do with you. And it doesn't even have anything to do with them truly, because it's just all about what you're trying to prove, rather than like actually being with you or being with them or being with anybody. It's
Yep.
crushing, honestly. It's exhausting.
Yep. And it's true because people are like connecting through their judgments,
Yes.
and through, oh, like having similar points of view, or they fight because they have different points of view. And that's what people call connecting, like, oh, we have the same point of view, we have the same judgment. Well, but there's a greater form of engaging and connecting with each other beyond judgments. It's like the gratitude we have for each other, the contribution we can be, the nurturing, and the honoring. There's so many different aspects of what we can be, which is a lot like what occurs when you're out in nature, and the
Yeah.
contribution you receive from everything around you, the woods, the trees, the animals, the plants, whatever it is.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's like the trees engage with you. They hear you, they speak to you, they're with you. And it's like not so, we're not actually taught to do that
Nah.
in in our personal relationships. We're
Yep.
taught to prove that we care rather than really be with somebody in a way that is true caring.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. So wow. This whole conversation is just, it's like frying my brain cells. So what, for you, what has been the most exciting part of pragmatic psychology and, you know, working with people?
Oh gosh, so much. It's like seeing people who have been abused and made wrong for such a big part of their lives. um having shiny eyes and discovering the beauty of themselves, and they saying, I've tried so many things, I've been in therapy for years, and this changed everything. It's like this knowing that we have choice. That's one of the most amazing things. Whatever happened in your past, whatever occurred, however horrible it was, you have what it takes to change everything, and you can change the tracks of your future. And it's a choice we all have. And when people get that, or start getting that, and they take the reins of their lives in their own hands, that's one of the most amazing things. and
Wow.
and that, like, that choice factor is also something, like when I speak at conferences, this is also something that amazes me, is that there's so many conferences that want me to speak about pragmatic psychology, which I had not imagined that this would be of interest for this world so much. And one of the most frying things for people and my colleagues is to talk about choice, because that's not something that's been emphasized in our education much. It's like it's more like, oh, you had this past and you need to learn to deal with this, or this will be hard. There's always this projection of the past does something with your future. And talking about choice is something that's so empowering, where people, they can receive your contribution from the practitioner. They can be, choose to receive whatever you have to offer. But then them knowing that they have choice makes them be in charge of their lives, and they are empowered to take care of their own lives and futures. And that's such a huge thing. I love it.
Wow, that's awesome. I like the shiny eyes part. When you just have that, yeah, when people see something, like have these epiphanies of, wait a second, I'm not wrong, and I can have all these things, and it can be easier.
Yep.
Wow. It's
And
amazing.
that's the future we could head towards, if more of us would acknowledge that, the only problem we have is that life is too easy. Then, and we embrace more of that ease, then, what parts of our lives and areas of our lives would change, and what future could we all have on this planet?
Wow. That's the future I'd like to see.
Me too.
That's Well, thank you so much for coming on, Susanna, and for this conversation. And Susanna facilitates Right Voice for You classes, Access Foundation classes, and Pragmatic Psychology classes. And is there anything else that you facilitate that I'm missing?
There are wealth creators classes
And the Wealth Creators.
and being you and
Wow.
yeah
Awesome.
yeah yeah.
So, you actually can you talk a little bit about the Pragmatic Psychology class as well as the Pragmatic Psychology practitioners?
Yeah, so the practitioner class is a 3-day class for people who work with people, however they work with people. you know, we have coaches, therapists, facilitators, hairdressers, flight attendants, like truly parents, anybody who works with clients who wants to know, hey, how can I uniquely facilitate change and use the being that I be and find out what I know about this, using together with the tools, of course. But everybody does it so amazingly different, and that's something that I love to see. That
Right.
makes my eyes shiny at these classes to see how people do it their way, and which I wouldn't have thought of, because they add like the combination of who they are and using the tools just creates a firework of unique possibilities. So and then they can use, and then they usually go, oh my god, I can receive other clients now because I thought I couldn't handle this person, I couldn't handle that person. And then they go, oh gosh, I can handle that too, which expands their clientele. Usually they tell me, oh, I have more clients now and my business is expanding, and it's just really wonderful. It's like this empowerment of people also in that way, knowing that they can do it.
Wow. That's so awesome. I'm hosting Susanna's Pragmatic Psychology's Pragmatic Psychology practitioner class coming up. Is it June 20th? Yeah,
Something around
June
that time.
June 24th. June 24th. And I just can't wait. And it is online all over the world. So, I'm sorry, June 19th to 21st. Oh, we're all over the map. So it's online. So, anybody can take it, and we will put the link in the podcast description here if you guys want to check it out. And thank you so much for being here, Susanna. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you and hear your unique outlook on life and everything. Just hear about all these possibilities, that we can create in the world. So thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me. It was a true pleasure.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. And thank you to our live studio audience. We love you guys.
Yay.
And to everybody out there listening to this podcast, thank you so much for listening and for seeking these different possibilities and this different future. Now is definitely the time. The world is changing. It is becoming a completely different place. It's a very, very, very amazing time. And every single choice that we make is creating this different future. So be as weird as you are, be as different as you are, and you don't have to hide the happiness that you are any longer, because this is a different world. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for choosing. And thank you again, Susanna, for being on with me today. Thanks for joining me on another episode of A Different Reality. It would be awesome if you could share this podcast with your friends and family. I'm always looking to spread the seeds of consciousness. And you can find me on my website at juliasotas.com. Until next time, what energy, space, consciousness, and choice can you be to create a reality totally beyond this reality with total ease?